In this video, we're going to take a look at how to move selected objects. Now, of course, you can click on a vector or an object twice, and you can get the transform tools to rotate it, or you can stretch it out and make it larger, or you can grab it by one of these anchor points and move it around. But for now, we're actually going to look at how to do this in a form. So I'm just going to click on my worksheet, click my object again, click F9 to move it to the center of the worksheet, and go to Move Selected Objects Form, or M, on the keyboard. So you can see we've got a couple different options here, so let's go through them. Now, an absolute move will do an absolute move in X or Y, depending on where the anchor point is. So right now, we can see that the anchor point is set to the middle, and it's showing us that the X position is 5 and the Y position is 5. So what happens if I move this down to 2 and 2? Hit apply. Now what that's actually done is it's moved the X and Y value to the absolute position of 2 and 2 in Y and X on this worksheet. This worksheet is 10 inches by 10 inches. So you can see if I hover my mouse over this point in the 3D view, I get the coordinates it's currently at, which is 2 and 2. And the center of my job, because it is a 10 by 10 worksheet, is 5 and 5. So if I hit apply, it does an absolute move to the center. Now if I move the anchor point to the bottom left, you can see it's currently giving you the coordinates of the bottom left anchor point. Now if I tell this to move that to 4 and 4, what it's going to do is do an absolute move from that bottom left anchor to 4 and 4. So if you keep an eye on the object, you can see it's now moved that bottom left corner to 4 and 4. So that bottom left anchor is now at 4 and 4. Now what's a relative move? So a relative move is where we can move the object relative to where it currently is. So currently we can see that the middle point is at 5.6292 and 5.4939 respectively. So I'm going to move this 2 inches in X and 2 inches in Y, and let's see where it ends up. And what it's done is it's moved it relative to where it was, 2 inches in X and 2 inches in Y. And now we also have this option here, which is relative rotated. Now this is where we can rotate our object using the transform tools. We've got the handle here to rotate that. And what it will do is it will rotate the item, but then we can now move this relative to its rotated bound. So if I show you an example, if I type in 2 here, this will now move it in its rotated form. So if we click apply, it's moved it in relation to how it is rotated. Similarly, if I do it in Y and I go by 3, it moves it relative to where it has rotated to. Now it's important to note you can actually use the coordinates in the bottom right hand corner here if you ever need to look at the coordinates, but you can also just hover over the anchor points and you'll be able to manipulate these vectors and see where they currently stand. So if that helps you, you can also do that. But of course you can just always click on this and it will tell you where your anchor points are currently situated in the worksheet as well. And finally, here's some other tools you can use in the move selection as well as on the actual 3D view. So first of all, you can actually use negative values. So if I want to move negatively in X, I can do so, and I can also do that in Y. So you can see here, if I hit apply, it'll move it negatively in those options. So you can use that in the absolute and relative options there as well. Another thing to point out, if you click on this icon here in the middle, you can see it gives you the value of where it's currently situated, so where X and Y is. If I put that to 5 and hit enter, it moves it to X5. And if I do it again for Y, I can move it back to the center using those values as well. So you can actually do it in the 3D view as well. So it's a really powerful tool, and I highly suggest that you go and have a play with it. And with that, that concludes our video on how to move your selected objects.